Today we are doing our top 10 power forwards in the NBA going into next season, and I will make a prediction right here, right now. For all of you YouTube commenters out there who've been watching these top 10s, first of all, thank you. Love you guys. This is the video that you guys are going to have the most problems with. I guarantee it, because the power forward position, at least the bottom 5 in the NBA right now, is a complete toss-up. The bottom 5 power forwards in the NBA are crap. There is a huge drop-off from the top 5 to the bottom 5, and you guys will see that as we go through. So let's get into number 10 here. And number 10 on our list for the top 10 power forwards in the NBA, I got Julius Randle. I am so high on Julius Randle simply because he was stellar after the All-Star break last year. The dude was averaging 19 and 9 throughout the second half of the year last year. I think the Lakers should have brought him back. I understand that he doesn't play an incredible kind of, pace of basketball. He's a slow player, doesn't really line up with what the Lakers want to do going forward. But look, you're not going to find as many stable guys down low as Julius Randle. He's gotten better every single year in the NBA. He's transformed his body. He's transformed his game. He started to learn how to shoot a little bit, but his defense has improved. His rebounding has improved. His post moves has improved significantly. And then the Lakers, as soon as he got good, have just dumped him. Now he's going to go to the Pelicans and be one of the more interesting guys in the NBA. I'm excited to see what the Pelicans are able to do with Julius Randle this year, but they do have a lot of players at the power forward position. And speaking of such, at number 9 on our list is Nikola Mirotic, who is also on the New Orleans Pelicans. So this is where things get a little tricky. Harris, how do you have 2 of the same players on the same team getting on this list? Well, Julius Randle, regardless of what team he's on, was one of the best power forwards in basketball last year. And I think it also goes to show just how weak the position is right now. I mean, we're at the point where we're trying to consider Giannis to be a power forward. People are telling me that Tobias Harris is a power forward. These guys are just wings. Like, they're not power forwards. So I try to find guys who play the 4, who are power forwards, who have the size, the ability to play at the 4. Now, stretch 4s also matter, but don't come at me and tell me that Giannis is a power forward. He's not. He's a wing. There's a difference. That's why I put him as one of my top 5 small forwards, because he doesn't play the 4 as someone like a Mirotic or Randle or anyone else that we have on this list does. But for Mirotic, he was super effective for the Pelicans down the stretch once Cousins went down. Averaged 15 and 10 in the playoffs. Dude was shooting over 40% from 3. So I'm going to put him at number 9 on our list. I think him and Anthony Davis are going to combo for one of the best 4-5 combos in the NBA going to this year. So Mirotic to number 9. Let's go to number 8 on our list for the top 10 power forwards. At number 8, this is where things start to get a little bit more talented, but a little bit more consistent as well. So number 8, I have Aaron Gordon. I'm not his biggest fan at all. If you go watch our video on the top 10 worst contracts given out this offseason, Aaron Gordon was number 2. It was my number 2 contract given out because I don't think he was deserving of a max deal. I mean, I understand he's gotten better every single year. His points per game has gone up, as is his rebounding. He looks great in a lot of workout tapes right now, but I mean, his defense is bad. He's a very inefficient player. He's not a great ball handler. And I'm just not crazy about him. I don't think you can build a team around Aaron Gordon and end up winning a considerable amount of games. He's like a worse version of Blake Griffin, and Blake Griffin is already one of the biggest disappointments of any player in the NBA. I understand that he took a huge step forward offensively last year. I'm excited to see what Aaron Gordon does this year, but you can't rank him in the upper echelons of players in his position just by how inefficient he has been in becoming this offensive piece for the Magic. So maybe another year will help it out, but for now, just not anything great. Let's go to number 7 on our list for the top 10 power forwards in the NBA. At number 7, it's Kristaps Porzingis. Now, I understand it's Kristaps, and if he played a full healthy season, he would be in the top 5, probably would be in the top 3, but he's not. He wasn't healthy last year. He tore his ACL, blew out his knee, isn't going to be back until December of this year. And look, 7'1", 7'2" guys with injuries like him who are primarily shooters, they play on the outside. I'm worried about Kristaps. I am actively worried. We have no idea what Kristaps is going to look like when he comes back. Look, he could be better than he was when he got injured initially. There is an absolute chance that he could end up being a better player than he was when he first got injured. But as of right now, going into the season, we have no idea at all how good or bad Kristaps Porzingis is going to be into this season. So I'm just going to put him at number 7. It's a safe spot. A lot of room to grow for Kristaps. Again, if he comes back healthy and is better, he'll be top 3 on my list, maybe the number 2 guy in the NBA, going into next season. But for now, knee injuries, leg injuries, plus big guys, yikes, man. I'm not for it. So I'm putting him at number 7. Let's go to number 6 on my list. Number 6, interesting guy, a very interesting player, Paul Millsap. Didn't have a great year last year, was injured constantly, had a big-time wrist injury that cost him most of the season. Didn't really allow us to see him really unleashed in that Denver offense, but he's an unbelievably consistent player when he's healthy. He should average 17 and 8 every single year that he's healthy. Really good defensive player, can defend multiple positions. Great veteran on the court and in the locker room as well. I'm very high on Paul Millsap because I watched him dominate the Eastern Conference for years on end with the Hawks, and he also did the same thing with the Utah Jazz. Like, wherever this guy goes, he ends up dominating. He ends up being, he's a couple-time All-Star. He's a very good player. Made an All-NBA team a couple years ago as well. Paul Millsap is one of the more underrated, no-name guys in the NBA. And I say no-name because I don't know if the average fan knows who Paul Millsap is, which, is kind of a shame. But for me, I would take him over so many players in the NBA. I love his consistency. I love his leadership. I love his ability to score down low. So Paul Millsap coming in at number 6 on our list. Let's get into the top 5 because I told you there's a huge drop-off between the top 5 and the bottom 5. So let's go to number 5. And I struggled a lot with who to put at number 5 because the top 5 is so close, or at least the 3 of the top 5 is close. At number 5, I have Blake Griffin because we will never get a fully healthy, no drama season from Blake. We're never going to get one. And it's so disappointing because when he is healthy, he's very good. I think one of my least favorite topics in the NBA is how bad Blake Griffin is. Blake Griffin is not a bad player. Sure, he was minorly disappointing with the Los Angeles Clippers, never being able to make it to a finals, never really took the next step as a player to become a true elite offensive option. But this is still a power forward who's averaged at least 20 points for most of his career, still one of the most ferocious dunkers in the NBA. His rebounding is improved. He's a good passer as well. He is still a very good player. He's not as explosive as he once was. I mean, the dude has had so many knee and ankle injuries since he's come into the NBA that he doesn't really have that liftoff that he used to, but I think Detroit is going to be very good for Blake Griffin. I think Los Angeles, with how much of a celebrity he became, I think it became a distraction. I don't think he went 100% into basketball. I think he got too caught up in being a celebrity. And I think going to Detroit is really going to help his mindset and is going to help him going forward. I would expect that this year, if Blake Griffin is healthy, this should be the best statistical season that we get out of Blake Griffin in his career so far. I'm excited for what Blake is going to do this year in the Eastern Conference next to Andre Drummond. So he comes in at number 5 on our list. Let's go to number 4, or as I like to call him, the Blake Griffin clone. It's Kevin Love coming in at number 4. He is going to need to do a lot to live up to that new extension, though we should see a huge boost out of his stats with LeBron out of town. If you play fantasy basketball, I don't, by the way. I can't keep up with fantasy basketball. It's way too much for me. If you play fantasy basketball, draft Kevin Love. Absolutely. The dude's going to average 22 and 12 this year on offense, simply because there's no one else on his team that's going to be able to score. But the real question is, can Kevin Love lead this Cavs team to the playoffs? This is one of his biggest tests. Actually, I take that back. This is the biggest test of Kevin Love's career because he's not in Minnesota anymore where he can just, go through being bad. This is a Cleveland Cavaliers team that has been to the finals the last 4 years. I understand that LeBron is gone. I get it. But you have an owner with very high expectations. You have a head coach that has gone to the NBA Finals the last 3 seasons. You have a team that can still compete, and you have a point guard coming in that was the number 8 overall pick in the draft. So Kevin Love cannot just casually roll through this season and see what happens like he did a couple years in there with Minnesota. He's going to have to go balls to the wall this year to try to get the Cavs to the playoffs. I don't think he's going to be able to do it, but his stats are going to go through the roof. I said 22 and 12 before. I'm sticking with that. So Kevin Love coming in at number 4 on our list. Let's go to number 3. And at number 3 is a guy who really reignited his career last year after a very weird year the year before in San Antonio, and that's LaMarcus Aldridge. This dude was an absolute freak of nature last year. We saw peak LaMarcus Aldridge all over again. 23 points per game, 8.5 rebounds, 2 assists. He almost single-handedly led the Spurs to the playoffs last year. Second team All-NBA last season as well. The dude was an absolute stud. He was great in the series against the Warriors as well. He single-handedly won them a playoff game, almost won them 2 playoff games against the Golden State Warriors. I am a huge LaMarcus Aldridge guy. I've been a huge LaMarcus Aldridge guy since he came out of college, since he was with Portland, and since he's come to San Antonio. I love LaMarcus Aldridge. I love his game. I love what he's able to do on the court. He was we always had Dirk as the true stretch 4 in the NBA. And when LaMarcus Aldridge came around and showed that 7-footers at that position can shoot. We always talk about the new age unicorns, the Kristaps Porzingises and the Nikola Jokic's and all these guys. LaMarcus Aldridge was one of the first unicorns that we had in the NBA, a true shooting 7-footer from the power forward position who's also able to score down low in the block. He's never really been a 3-point shooter, that's fine, but he's got those deep twos. He's got an incredible mid-range game, and he's still good enough of a defender to make up for it all in the end. Totally deserving of All-NBA second team last year, and I would expect another fantastic season from Aldridge again. Maybe a step back in points per game because DeMar DeRozan is there now, but Aldridge should still be one of the best bigs in the NBA. Let's go to number 2 on my list of the top 10 power forwards going into this season. And at number 2, it's Draymond Green. It's Draymond Green. Like, we've argued back and forth as an NBA culture where exactly Draymond Green should go all time and in the spectrum of the NBA in general. For my money, he's the best defensive big man in the NBA. In fact, he's the best defensive player in the NBA for my money. I know Kawhi Leonard is now healthy. I know Rudy Gobert won the Defensive Player of the Year award last year. No one in the NBA has the defensive versatility that Draymond Green has. He is one of the only players who can truly defend all 5 positions. I have never seen anything like Draymond Green being able to cover a point guard or a shooting guard as the size that he is. His quickness, his IQ is so incredible and is so far ahead of the other power forwards in the NBA. Look, he's not the best rim protector. Rudy Gobert and Anthony Davis are better pure rim protectors than Draymond Green. I'm talking about an all-around defensive player. Give me Draymond Green over anyone else in the NBA. Anthony Davis can't defend point guards and shooting guards. Rudy Gobert can't defend point guards. Draymond Green can defend point guards. I saw Draymond Green almost perfectly defend James Harden multiple times in the Western Conference Finals. I saw Rudy Gobert get turned into a pretzel twice against Steph Curry and learned all I needed to know about him away from the basket. And I also saw Klay Thompson dice up Anthony Davis a couple of times in the Western Conference playoffs last year. But Draymond Green versus James Harden, I saw a lot of incredible things that I've never seen big men be able to do. He will go down as one of the best defensive big men in the history of basketball. And I think right now he's the number 1 defensive player in the NBA. So he comes in at number 2 on our list. Let's go to number 1. I'm going to get slack for this. I know this because we have a whole group of people that says he's a center. We have a whole group of people that says he's a power forward. You want to know what I say, Lena? Anthony Davis is the best player at both positions. He's the best power forward in the NBA, and he's the best center in the NBA. Come at me. I'm going to put him as my number 1 center in the NBA next year. Come at me. He's the best at both positions. He plays both positions. Like, this isn't some, oh, he only plays center a little bit, or, oh, he only plays power forward a little bit. He plays both, and he's incredible at both of them. He's the best player at both positions simultaneously. And that is why Anthony Davis is a future Hall of Famer and a future MVP in this league. We have a lot of dark horses in the MVP race going into next year. Anthony Davis last year has officially stepped out of the dark horse category for MVPs. He is now a favorite for the MVP next year. Not only is he the favorite, he's actually the second favorite for MVP last year behind only LeBron James. And in fact, I'm going to make this statement right now. Anthony Davis is actually my choice for MVP going into next year because I think with the additions of Julius Randle, I think with all the other moves that the Pelicans have made, not to mention no DeMarcus Cousins in there, Anthony Davis is going to average like 31 points per game this season, guys. Like, Anthony Davis is going to put up one of the best seasons for any big man in NBA history this year if he ends up staying healthy. I mean, 28 points per game, 11 rebounds, one of the best shot blockers, one of the best defensive players in basketball as well. The only player this past season to be nominated for an MVP award as well as another award. He was nominated for the best defensive player of the year as well. So for me, Anthony Davis is without a question the best power forward in the NBA. And if you come back on our show on Tuesday, he's also going to be our number one center because he plays both. So let's go back through our list here of the top 10 power forwards. At number 10, Julius Randle. Number 9, Nikola Mirotic. Aaron Gordon, Kristaps, and Paul Millsap make up the bottom half of our top 10. And then into the top half, Blake Griffin, Kevin Love, LaMarcus Aldridge, Draymond Green, and Anthony Davis. So without further ado, it is time to update the board. So last show we introduced the board. Steph Curry, James Harden, LeBron James is the 3 number ones at point guard, shooting guard, and small forward respectively. And now, drum roll please, Anthony Davis is added to the board as the best lineup in the NBA, taking over the power forward position. Now, I mentioned that he will be our number one center as well because he is the best center in basketball. However, he can't play both positions, so our number 2 center will be taking over for the best lineup in the NBA for Anthony Davis at center. But let me know in the comment section below, who is the best power forward in the NBA? Is it Draymond Green? Is it LaMarcus Aldridge? Or are you set on Anthony Davis as I am? I think Anthony Davis is the best big man in the NBA. And I think if Kawhi Leonard isn't 100% this year, he will cement himself as the 3rd best player in basketball. LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis. Kawhi Leonard, Steph Curry. That's my top 5. But we'll get to my top 10 players in the NBA once we go through all of our other top 10s. That is a sacred list and a list that is kept very near and dear to my heart. So that's going to do it for our top 10 power forwards in the NBA.